Thank you. We shall now go on to our next speaker in this set, Dr. Dhanashree Ratra, who is a senior consultant Vitreous Retina Services from Shankar Nethralaya, and she is going to talk about an approach to a patient with night blindness. On to you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Chitra and Srinivas, for this kind invitation, and I am very happy to participate in this wonderful activity. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am going to talk to you about the approach to a patient with night blindness, and this is a short algorithm basically for the PGs. So we know that night blindness causes a huge diagnostic dilemma for all of us because of the varied heterogeneity in the clinical picture that you come across. And some of the patients can also have apparently normal fundus, which fails to explain the reduced vision. Sometimes the history of night blindness is also very vague. The family history is often absent, unavailable, or it might be negative. And sometimes the associated systemic conditions may also cause confusion. Oftentimes, similar looking lesions will also, confuse the matter. So these two funduses, they look almost similar, but this is a Stargardt's with fundus flavi maculatus, and this is a cone rod dystrophy. So why bother differentiating these patients? There are many conditions which present with night blindness, and some of them are treatable, such as gyrate atrophy, but some of them are in fact fatal, such as Kearns-Sayre syndrome. Some varieties are stationary with good prognosis, and while some are relentlessly progressive with poor prognosis. So an accurate diagnosis is desirable, with which we can prognosticate and plan for the patient's life further. So the first step is having a good history about the complaints. And of course, we know that patients with night blindness will complain of painless progressive decrease of vision. They have inability to fixate, or they can have nystagmus. Of course, the night blindness will be there. There can be varied severity ranging from dark adaptation problems to very aggressive night blindness. Visual field problems will be there. The patient may also have photo aversion and color vision problem. You must ask a history of similar complaints in family members. Must inquire about history of consanguinity, about any drug history, because many of the drugs can also cause toxicity and night blindness. And of course, we must also look for other systemic illnesses which can tell you that the patient may be having one of the syndromic presentation. Examination of these patients is very important. Visual acuity as well as the visual field charting is a must. A detailed fundus examination, and sometimes ancillary tests such as fundus fluorescein angiography or autofluorescence will help. ERG is of course pivotal in characterizing the night blindness patients. It helps to diagnose and also follow up the patients. Sometimes a multifocal ERG can be employed in cases of central problems. OCT is also helpful. And apart from that, you can have laboratory tests, audiograms, ECGs, and referral to various departments such as pediatrics, genetics, neurology, ENT medicine, etc. So this is a short algorithm. Whenever patient complains of night blindness, you must ask the patient whether it is stationary or progressive. In case it is a stationary night blindness, then whether the fundus is normal or it is abnormal. If the fundus is normal, then whether the ERG is normal or ERG is abnormal. If the ERG is normal, then it is most likely a myopia. If the ERG is abnormal, then it is most likely diagnosis is congenital stationary night blindness. In cases of abnormal fundus, you can either have a flecked retina with B wave ERG reduced, this is fundus albipunctatus, or you can have a golden shield which disappears on dark adaptation, which is Aguchi's disease. In cases of progressive night blindness, again, you can have a fundus which is unremarkable just for small disc pallor or vessel attenuation. Then you should ask patient for photophobia and nystagmus. If none is there but ERG is abnormal, you could be dealing with an early stage of retinitis pigmentosa sign pigmento. If both photophobia and nystagmus present, ERG extinguished, it could be Leber's congenital amaurosis. And in case of only the photopic ERG is abnormal, it could be a cone rod dystrophy. In cases of abnormal fundus with progressive night blindness, you could have a myopic fundus due to high myopia. You can have bony spicules, which is with extinguished ERG in retinitis pigmentosa. There could be flex with extinguished ERG, which is retinitis punctata albicans, or you can have choroidal and RP degeneration with extinguished ERG with choroideremia and gyrate atrophy, or you could have vitreous abnormality in various vitreoretinopathies. Syndromic conditions are more difficult. You need to look at the systemic complaints, general examination, and specific referrals, as I mentioned. So in short, a systematic approach to diagnosis will help narrow down the differentials and point to the correct diagnosis. Thank you very much.
That was very nice. Srinivas, we would ask Dr. Reema Bansal to be the discussant here.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dhanashree, for very crisp algorithm. A few points, 2 to 3 points I would like to make since it's for the PGs. When you have a patient of night blindness, as Dhanashree has rightly said, first thing is to examine the patient, and if you see findings in the fundus, if the fundus has abnormalities, those abnormalities are very conspicuous. You can't really make a diagnosis by just looking at the lesions. For example, if it is retinitis pigmentosa or a gyrate atrophy or something like that. The challenge comes when we don't see much and the patient has complaints. So there it makes sense to do these ERGs and the tests. Theoretically, it's very important to know what tests help. But for the clinical and the workup of the patient, I think the PGs must know about the inheritance patterns of these diseases like autosomal dominant or recessive, and accordingly screen the patient's family, siblings, and parents for the disease. And counseling is very important in these patients. So that's all. And I think I would like to have Praveen ma'am's comments on these, since she's an expert on these.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have been covered very nicely by Dr. Dhanashree. And I just wanted to add one more thing, that sometimes you have this early onset night blindness or a late onset night blindness in an elderly man. So this is something which you have to deal with a lot of caution, especially with increased longevity these days. Suddenly, if you have a more older gentleman around 60 plus or something coming and telling that he's now having difficulty. So sometimes we relate it to age-related thing also, but this new onset of night blindness at that age and difficulty in maneuvering, and you do an ERG and now you realize that your cones and rods are both down, this could be a carcinoma-associated retinopathy and must be investigated by a PET scan and a physician check and review. I have seen a couple of cases like this. So this is something new onset night blindness. It has to be kept in mind. It can also be a mild form of disease which may have presented later, but then carcinoma associated retinopathy should be kept in mind, just in the same way as melanoma associated retinopathy. But melanoma associated retinopathy, usually you already have a tumor which is there, but carcinoma associated retinopathy, the first presentation may be to an ophthalmologist. And so you may be the one diagnosing this presence of a carcinoma elsewhere in the body. So this has to be taken care of. In children, in the other extreme spectrum, vitamin A deficiency, that can still be one of the causes and definitely must be kept in mind. And vitamin A assays can be useful and therapeutic because it can reverse the night blindness. It can be treatable form of night blindness. Those are the two additions from my side. Otherwise, almost everything is there.
Fantastic. Actually, I wanted to pick up that point, Parveen madam, because most of these cone rod cone dystrophies, you have some or the other pigmentary or those kind of retinopathic features. But I think vitamin A deficiency, night blindness associated, is very difficult to diagnose. And any special things you would like to look into it, Dhanashree madam or Parveen madam?
Yeah, so these fall in acquired night blindness. So for the lack of time, since the time was only 4 minutes, I could not include all these conditions. But however, the algorithm which I gave was for the hereditary night blindness. Acquired causes are, of course, you know, the vitamin A deficiency will be there. So many drugs can cause night blindness. And then you have these carcinoma or melanoma associated retinopathy. And sometimes you have an entity called as late onset retinal degeneration. So you need as I said, history is of paramount importance. If you have a child whom you suspect vitamin A deficiency, then you should, of course, ask about his nutrition. You should also look for other signs of malnutrition. So these ancillary tests are definitely important, and you can also take the help of your pediatrics colleagues and other specialties to come to a final diagnosis about this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.